was a kid, I always wanted to do a TED Talk. It was the big goal. I wanted to be just like those people. Up on that stage, I wanted to change the world. But life happens, and a couple things got in the way of my changing the world. This is one of them. The first thing I want you to do today is turn to your neighbor and tell them one word that you think of when you hear the word homeless. So, I grew up in the Commercial Drive area of Vancouver, and I always noticed homeless people, always exchanged a smile with each of them. But one man, he always struck me. He was in the same place every time I walked by, and it didn't seem like there was a day that I went by that he wasn't there. He was sitting with his back up against the brick wall that bordered the bottom of the Mac's convenience store on Commercial Drive. He intrigued me, and I was always curious about him because at one point I realized there's more to this man than I'm seeing. There's an actual human being inside that person. So as I got older, we started to recognize each other, exchange smiles, say hi when I walked by. He was my connection to feeling like I was finally changing the world. On one hand, I'm not going to lie, I was scared of the guy. Society teaches us to fear things that we don't know or understand, and I was an extension of that. On the other hand, I felt like he was a great guy, misunderstood, and I was unable to understand why he would be living on the streets. So in the process of preparing for this, I came to believe that I should have an actual conversation with him. So I prepared questions, got ready to go, got all excited, amped up, and in the process of all of my excitement, realized I was making so many assumptions about a guy that I barely know. So I decided to have low expectations. Maybe this guy is a jerk. Maybe this relationship, this friendship we'd built up was just a figment of my, I must admit, occasionally overactive imagination. So on that cold Tuesday in August, as I walked up to him, I was scared. I had come to the realization that I don't know this guy, and he might not be the guy that I want him to be. I felt bad. After asking if I could sit down, the first thing that I asked him was, "Do you consider yourself to be homeless?" He replied, "No. I'm an urban couch surfer. But you can call it homeless if you'd like." So while he was answering this question, my mind was spinning. Oh my gosh, I'm here, I'm nervous, I'm excited. Oh my gosh, this is happening. And I realized I don't even know his name. So I asked him, what's your name? He replied, "John. What's your name?" I said, "Robin." And in that moment, when we locked eyes, I don't know if I have ever felt an emotion like that before. It is a moment of breaking that barrier of fear, of not knowing, and feeling that true human connection. In today's world, this barrier is so often defined as normal. Since when is it normal to deny that human connection? John and I ended up having about a 15-minute conversation about various things, his life, my life. I hate math, geometry sucks. But it was absolutely incredible. John told me that he'd been sitting in the same place on Commercial Drive for 14 years, and it only struck me later. 14 years. John has been sitting in that same place for as long as I have been alive. John told me that he had had a wife, a house, a job, things most of us just take for granted. He was one of those guys walking past homeless people every day, not knowing that in a few short years he would become one. John told me that he had had a fairly tumultuous relationship with his wife, and specifically requested that if I absolutely need name her, I address her as the crazy bitch. John told me that one day he snapped. That was it. He was an urban couch surfer. Of course, me with my overactive imagination, as soon as he says I snapped, my mind explodes. There must be more than I snapped. But that's when I realized something. If my friend and I were talking about a conversation that neither of us might feel that comfortable with, we end the conversation. We're done with that part. I wouldn't later go back and demand to know more. And that's just what John is. John is a friend. John taught me so much. He taught me that you have to talk to someone to truly, truly learn their story. So after all was said and done, I realized something. I didn't change the world. I probably didn't change John. But John changed me. I don't need to pity him, sympathize with him. I need to make him feel like he is a part of our community, which he completely is. So, about 3 weeks after I had written this whole big speech, and I was excited, and I was walking down Commercial Drive, and I was saying it to myself, and I saw him sitting there. So I went down to sit with him. I was like, hey, we had this chatted for a couple minutes, and I said, hey, guess what? I got accepted to do a TEDx talk. It's like, whoa, that's so cool. I am so proud of you. Heart just exploded. Said, do you want anything from inside? He said, yeah, some grapefruit juice. What? He said, grapefruit juice. It's like my favorite thing to drink. When I heard you guys talking to the people sitting beside you, I heard a lot of words like lonely, sad, hunger. When there's a convenience store right there, I don't think of a homeless person to be particularly thirsty. So I went in, I got him some grapefruit juice, and I came out and he says, God bless you. Thank you so much. How can a person who has so little be so thankful? The next time you walk past an urban couch surfer, I want you to think about something. I want you to reach out a hand, and maybe, just maybe, that hand doesn't have any change in it. Instead, you be that change. Break that veil of fear, of awkwardness, of not knowing, and feel that human connection. We are the same species. Since when is it normal to pass someone every day and ignore them? Feel it. Truly, truly feel that human connection. I'm going to say it again. The next time you walk past an urban couch surfer, I want you to reach out a hand. And maybe, just maybe, that hand doesn't have any change in it. Instead, you be that change.